These are all the things that the retail crowd, the vast majority of the analysts on the internet, do not want to teach you about or pay attention to. But these are the primaries that matter, the things that these market algorithms that control these markets actually react to. Alrighty, everybody, what is going on? Welcome back to another CYPRX video banger. In today's video, we're going to be doing a technical analysis overview of both XRP and Bitcoin. So make sure that you stick around for the entirety of today's video breakdown. But before we get into that, we're going to set some prerequisites, some video clips, and some confirmation before we jump into today's video breakdown, showing you all that CYPRX is one of the realest communities on the face of the internet for accurate and detailed information, both fundamentals and in terms of technical analysis. And you guys have access to all of this information ahead of the retail crowd. And this video is going to show you guys that. And I'm going to continue to show you all that and be a light in this very, very dark, twisted, sinister space that we call the crypto ecosystem. As of right now, there are hundreds of technical analysts online doling out the same retail insights using retail indicators like RSIs, EMAs, Fibonacci projections, giving you guys these outrageous price trajectories of these digital assets. And what you'll realize is 99% of them, probably even higher than 98%, are wrong. We have entered into an era where reactive algorithms driven by shifting sentiment and headline level fundamentals control price action.
Super quick computers and advanced mathematic formulas have largely taken over trading on the financial markets from human beings. Algorithms, which seem to have a life of their own. Algorithms secretly lie waiting for the moment that your Apple share or your pension money gets on the market. The only ones who understand this system in any way are its architects, the algorithm developers.
AI even is a part of this. I think early when we started the business, all of our risk models were powered primarily by quantitative signals. So we're looking at volume, price action, liquidity, depth, all these things across different markets. But oftentimes the vast majority of the time, the driver to all of this type of price action and volatility in the market is news itself. And when news breaks, now we can react to it much faster.
And that leaves 98% of retail calls off the mark or inaccurate, as you all have most likely seen. So now is the moment to secure a real edge in these markets with accurate, timely information. And that is exactly what we deliver here at CYPRX. Week after week, our community sees the moves before they happen. Now, in previous video breakdowns, we have shown you all that reputable voices in the industry have confirmed that dark pool flows and institutional deltas shape these markets.
Dark pools are private venues where large orders are executed off of a public exchange. It's used by institutions to avoid moving the market and causing FOMO. It's basically invisible buying. Trades are disclosed after they're completed, not during. The smart money doesn't make noise, okay? They accumulate silently. They talk their book, and right now they're using dark pools to do it.
And as of right now, CYPRX is the only retail community with live access to those prices through our institutional grade software and our in-house institutional scalper with over 13 years of hedge fund experience. We keep our members 100 steps ahead of the average retail investor, and I'm going to show you all of that in today's video breakdown. So make sure that you stick around for the entirety of this. And if you enjoy the realness of this breakdown, no hopium, no hype here at CYPRX, always delivering you guys documented proof and physical timestamps, showing you guys that we are delivering these insights before the moves play out. Do me a favor, smash that thumbs up button and subscribe. So we're going to start with my public announcement here. For the record, if you guys don't follow me on X, I'm going to start to deliver these insights to you guys every single week, giving you all timely updates throughout the entirety of the week, starting on Sunday with my overall weekly analysis. So every Sunday, as long as my personal schedule allows for it, I'm going to deliver you guys these risk on, risk off drivers to be paying attention to at the beginning of the week, right? Roughly around Sunday, Monday. So make sure that you go and follow me on X so that way you can get these timely insights. And these are not, you have to understand, these are not price projections. These are not, what do people call them on the internet, the retail community? These are not signals, all right? This is a detailed analysis of what could possibly take place depending on how the algorithms could adjust their risk sentiment based off of fundamental headlines that we could see throughout the entirety of the week. You need to understand that that is how these institutions trade. That is how these institutional hedge funds, these asset managers, these large market participants move these markets. They are reactive, right? If headlines shift in one single day to risk off, they're going to adjust their positions. They're going to take profit on riskier assets, and they're going to roll those funds over into safe haven plays, okay? And so at the beginning of the week, timestamps are important. This is where we're going to get into the details, showing you all that I give all of this stuff in advance. And if you are in our private Discord, you guys have access to the most accurate institutional dark pools and delta zones on the face of the internet on any currency pair or trading pair that you want access to, whether it's cryptos, futures, commodities, forex. Our institutional program delivered by our institutional scalper can give you guys access to these institutional levels on any single pair that you guys want. And so on May 4th, 2025, you guys can see the date right there, right at 1:45 p.m. If we scroll up here to the top, I said to you guys, weekly XRP and Bitcoin analysis. Here are the risk on, risk off triggers. Institutional delta roadmap and all price levels below align with our delta levels in our institutional charts. Treat them as such. So here are some risk on drivers. Just to keep this video short and straight to the point, I'm going to only pay attention to the ones that came into fruition this week. However, I delivered a whole slew of fundamental drivers that could bring more of a risk on appetite, right? Driving more demand for risk assets and less of a demand for safe haven assets like gold, Japanese yen, or the dollar. So one of them I said here, we needed to see visible progress on tariff talks. We need to see headlines that Beijing is evaluating Washington's offers and Trump's softer language on China signaling de-escalation, or any announcements of lower tariffs or positive announcements from other major jurisdictions like South Korea, Japan, UK, or India. And then here I go on to say, we would also like to see earnings beats from household names, strong earnings reports from Ford, from Disney, from AMD, from Pinterest, etc. would confirm that corporate America is weathering the tariff storm. And then also I mentioned here, we would like to see more profit taking on gold or other safe haven assets. A continued drop in traditional hedges frees up capital for riskier assets. And so these are three primaries that I said in this breakdown on May 4th, which was Sunday at the beginning of the week, we would ideally like to see to paint a risk on environment. Now let's fast forward. It is, as of time of recording, 4 days later. Today is the 8th, and I'm going to show you all how all of these fundamentals have come into fruition. Okay, you can see here, and what you'll notice is on the retail side of things, they'll give you guys astronomical alignments, moon cycles, all these Fibonacci projections. Oh my gosh, we got an EMA crossover, we got RSI divergence, all this bullcrap that institutional hedge funds and market makers do not use to move these markets. That's what you need to understand. The insights that we deliver for you guys here at CYPRX are institutional insights. Well, check this out. Here is a retail-based article. Let's go up and look at the date. This is from the 7th of May, 2025, and it says here, gains in Bitcoin came tracking upside in broader risk-driven markets after US and China confirmed that top-level officials will meet for trade talks in Switzerland later this week. The announcement pushed up optimism that the world's biggest economies will now engage in greater dialogue and help de-escalate a bitter trade war between the two, although the timing of such scenario remained unclear. Keep in mind, this was the first thing we said that we would like to see in order to see a risk-on market move, right? And we painted you guys this picture of what we would ideally like to see in a risk-on environment on both Bitcoin and XRP, okay? So delivering you guys these insights in advance. That was number one. Okay, so we did see that come into fruition this week. That was phenomenal. Second, right, we mentioned that we would like to see major announcements on tariff negotiations from other major jurisdictions. Well, here we can see another retail-based article that came out after our analysis on the 4th. This is another report from investing.com on the 7th of May, and it says here, U.S. President Donald Trump has said that a trade deal with the United Kingdom would be a full and comprehensive event as the two countries were tipped to soon sign an agreement. Trump said the agreement with the United Kingdom is a full and comprehensive one that will cement the relationship between the United States and the United Kingdom for years to come. Trump said in a post on his Truth social media platform on Thursday, because of our long-term history and allegiance together, it is a great honor to have the United Kingdom as our first major announcement. Many other deals, which are in serious stages of negotiation, are set to follow. This sparks market optimism and keeps the markets, especially in risk assets, hopeful that we're going to continue to see de-escalation of the overall tariff announcements that took place at the beginning of April. Okay, so that was the second thing. Keep in mind, in the fundamental report that we delivered for you guys at the beginning of the week, that was the second thing we said. We said we wanted to see, other jurisdictions right here come out with major de-escalated announcements on the tariff front. Okay, so that was another thing that we saw this week. Then we talked about earnings reports, right? We mentioned we wanted to see upbeat earnings reports from major companies in the United States. Well, if we come over here, we can also see that this week came into fruition. Here is another retail-based report. This was only updated 22 hours ago, and it says here, if we get into this, in an earnings quarter teeming with uncertainty around tariffs, Walt Disney's quarterly results are looking like the happiest place on earth. The media giant exceeded expectations in its most recent quarter, bolstered by an unexpected boost in its Disney Plus streaming businesses and a strong result from its theme parks that suggested consumer resilience despite a turbulent global economic environment. Despite questions around any macro uncertainty or the impact of competition, I'm encouraged by the strength and resilience of our business, Disney CEO Bob Iger said. Right? And so this was the third thing that we mentioned we wanted to see this week in order to see an optimistic market mood. Right there, I said earnings reports from household names like strong earnings reports from Disney, Ford, AMD, Pinterest would confirm that corporate America is weathering tariffs. Right? So again, showing you guys these insights and what you should be paying attention to. Keep in mind, all the retail crowd that makes content on social media like YouTube, for example, the XRP crowd, what are they focused on? SEC announcements, Brad Garlinghouse, whatever the heck the retail crowd is focused on, all the things that the market makers are not focused on. All right. So yet again, showing you guys another fundamental report that came into fruition. And last but not least, the last green highlight here, we mentioned we wanted to see profit taking on safe haven assets like gold that usually tends to reflect itself in bullish price action and riskier assets like Bitcoin and crypto. Well, if we come over here, here is another retail article. And it says here, gold prices fell in Asia trade sessions on Wednesday as the announcement of formal trade talks between U.S. and China boosted risk appetite and sapped safe haven flows. Gold's decline came amid a run-up in risk-driven assets after the U.S. and China confirmed that a high-level official will meet for trade talks in Switzerland this week. While traders were still skeptical over just what would come out of the upcoming talks, the meeting still represents some progress towards an eventual de-escalation and the ongoing U.S. trade war. So first part of this video breakdown, before we get into the technical analysis, I just wanted to show you guys that we deliver fundamental insights from an institutional perspective. These are all the things that the retail crowd, the vast majority of the analysts on the internet, do not want to teach you about or pay attention to, but these are the primaries that matter. The things that these market algorithms that control these markets actually react to. Okay, now let's get into the technical analysis insights. First, before we get into the projections up and coming later on this week and where the market could head, both on Bitcoin and an XRP, I want to show you guys that in our private community via these institutional buy and sell volume areas and these deltas, our private community had these areas of interest that both XRP and Bitcoin recently reacted to ahead of the move. Keep in mind, as of time of recording, it is the 8th of May. So pay attention. I always show you guys timestamps. I just showed you all timestamps that in terms of fundamentals on the 4th, we delivered those insights ahead of the curve. Now let me show you guys in terms of technical analysis, no retail-based indicators, no freaking moving averages, no Fibonacci projections, no astronomical freaking price trajectories, unrealistic targets on XRP and Bitcoin, just accuracy on another level. So let's start with Bitcoin. Here is our BTC USD analysis section where our institutional scalper utilizes the software and gives our community these institutional delta zones, both dark pools, delta zones, and buy and sell volume areas. Well, you can see here on May 7th, roughly at around 8:46 a.m. on Wednesday. There's the timestamp in the Discord for those of you guys who would like to see the timestamp. It's not to toot our own horn. I just like people like proof. Okay. And I'm trying to give you guys proof. People are always looking for some holy grail. And here in the CYPRX community, that holy grail does for a fact exist. Believe it or not. Most people will deny this information exists. You just have to wit out all the other bull crap out there on the internet and tap the F in. So here on May 7th, you guys can see our institutional scalper delivered some buy volume areas coming in at roughly around $96,000 per Bitcoin, right? This is on the 15-minute time frame. And then right down here, you can see that we started to have a conversation about this in the morning, right? This is where I said, I'm only looking for buys at the buy volume areas if we can see comments from Jerome Powell that don't weigh on risk assets. There's a highlight there. I said that to the private community before the FOMC policy announcement yesterday. And then here, right after that, you guys can see Scalper updated the buy volume areas when Bitcoin was testing those areas, and that came in at roughly around $95,950 per Bitcoin, right? And then Scalper said that institutions are testing the buy volume, right? Shortly after that, I took a position. You guys can see my profit there. We're not going to talk about profit, and I don't flex any money that we make in this community because that's not what trading is about. And you can see Scalper even gave a overall trajectory that the market would reverse off of these buy volume areas and flip bullish. Okay, so I'm just physically trying to show you guys that on Bitcoin, we'll get into XRP in just a second, we had these levels in advance. Okay, well, if you come over here to the charts, short as day, yesterday, if we turn on our session indicators during New York session, you can see the market makers push price action right down into that buy volume area that Scalper had identified ahead of the curve a day in advance. Market makers started to show their hand and defend their previous buy positions from Asia session, and they push price action up into almost $100,000 per Bitcoin, or the next institutional sell dark pool that we have annotated on our charts that we've gotten ahead of the curve. And you can see, sure as day, this is exactly where sell pressure has started to come into fruition, i.e. sellers at dark pools defending their previous positions. So this was a clear-cut example on Bitcoin of how we gave our private community insights ahead of the curve in terms of institutional areas of interest where the market makers could start to defend their buy positions from, and it materialized and came into fruition. Now, if you go back to the overall analysis that I gave you guys, you can also see here in this area, the green areas of interest are the buy volume areas, and the red areas are the delta levels. I gave you guys this overall projection that we would most likely see Bitcoin defend the $94,888 mark and make its way up until $100,271, right? And now you can see, sure as day, that is exactly what happened. Right down here, 2 days ago, if we look at the timestamps, this is roughly on New York session, Tuesday, May the 6th. You can see that institutions broke above the institutional dark pool delta at the $94,888 mark, right? Exactly the institutional delta I was giving you guys in advance. Buyers came in, flooded buy positions, and pushed price action all the way up into that $100,271 mark before profit taking started to unfold, literally trading from delta to delta. No overall bullish trajectory or price analysis saying Bitcoin's going to freaking skyrocket to $2 million per Bitcoin, all that outrageous, crazy jargon that you see from the retail crowd. Okay, just accuracy on another level. Now let's transition over to XRP. Okay, just showing you guys in terms of XRP price action, we did the same thing. You can see over here on the left-hand side, we deliver these insights on multiple different currency pairs: XLM, Bitcoin, HBAR, XLR, Solana, Ondo, right? I mean, the list goes on. Okay, any insights, any crypto pair, any commodity pair, any futures pair that you guys want these insights on, you guys can get those insights by tapping into the CYPRX private Discord. So in terms of XRP, right, you can see here, May 4th, 2025, our institutional scalper delivered these technical analysis insights from our program. And you can see we had some dark pools pop up at the $2.09 area of interest, okay? And this is when XRP's price, I know that it's kind of hard to see, but that is when XRP's price was hovering at around $2.17. And we had annotated the $2.09 mark. And our institutional scalper said here to our private community, it's been a week or so that we haven't seen any real buy volume by buyers, but they are passively keeping prices above the buy volume area, trying to exhaust sellers now. If it stays above this level, we will see upward prices. And this is back from, look at the timestamp, Sunday, May 4th. Okay, so again, this is ahead of the curve. Then right down here, shortly after, again, on Sunday, May 4th, you can see scalper delivered the buy volume areas, and that came in at roughly around $2.17. And so if you go to my XRP analysis here, you can see, again, looking at the timestamps, this is May 6th. As of time of recording, today is May 8th. I gave you guys another updated XRP analysis. By the way, I'm bookmarking all of these price updates to give you guys continuous updates throughout the week. I said here, as for XRP, Earlier this week, we identified the $2.09 level as a key area of interest for discounted entries. And prices have responded precisely as anticipated. After tagging $2.09, XRP has bounced with buyers stepping in to defend this zone. At the time of writing, price is trading at around $2.17. Now it's trading above that threshold at about $2.21. I said here, the focus now shifts to momentum. In order to unlock higher levels, XRP price needs to firmly establish acceptance above $2.17. If buyers can overpower sellers here, the next bullish intraday targets come into view at around $2.30 and potentially $2.48 plus. However, there is downside risk. If $2.09 fails to hold, particularly if tomorrow's FOMC triggers broader risk-off sentiment, sellers could regain control, driving prices lower towards $1.90 to the $1.72 range. For now, $2.17 is the battleground. Strength above this signals continuation, right? And I gave you guys this overall trajectory looking at where XRP's price was trading yesterday in this analysis. It was at about $2.16. Now, fast forward. Keep in mind, on May 4th, our private community in the Discord here, right? If we go back, just to show you guys, I'm trying to understand what I'm showing you all, physical proof that not only on Bitcoin, but also on XRP, and you can imagine all the other currency pairs we cover, our community had these insights in terms of deltas and dark pools way ahead of the retail crowd. This is from Sunday, May 4th, remind you, okay? And this is that $2.09 dark pool level that we had signaled to the community needed to come into fruition, okay? We needed to see buy volume from this area. Well, look at XRP's price action, ladies and gentlemen. You cannot make this up. Now, I know XRP's price action has not been as volatile as other digital assets. However, look at this freaking accuracy. So when we gave those insights in the private community on May 4th, this is where XRP's price action was traded, right? This is May 4th's price action. We were trading at around $2.18. Price action broke through the buy volume area, retested the dark pool deltas. Dark pools showed their hand and defended their previous buy positions here in this area, which you can see if we turn on the session indicators. This is exactly where New York session was buying from in a previous area of interest, right? You can see New York session is signaled by this vertical red line. And then New York session again came in and defended their buy positions from previous areas at $2.09 to the freaking pip. Like, do you guys see that accuracy right there? Again, $2.09, New York session buyers defended their positions, and now we can see XRP's price has seen some slight buy momentum, has broken above $2.17, which was that threshold that we said we needed to see price overcome in order to see higher prices on XRP, right? We're not giving you guys $5 price trajectories, freaking Fibonacci moon cycle analytics, whatever the heck the retail crowd is boasting out there. This is an extreme level of accuracy that most retail traders probably will ignore. Most people that clicked on this video and started to watch the beginning of it have not most likely made it to this point. If you have, smash that thumbs up button and subscribe. I'm showing you guys some of the realest information in the game. I know that it's a little excessive and it's long, but this is real accurate information. This is not made up hopium or hype or analytical insights that are sent to steer you in the wrong direction. This is a level of accuracy that most retail traders dream of, yet don't think exists, and continue to go out there and believe these retail-based influencers on the internet that have zero credentials, have never managed seven-figure portfolios, and probably live in their mom's basement, okay? Here in the CYPRX community, we have over 20 years of combined experience from our mentors, and each of us manage over 6 to 7 figure crypto and trading portfolios. Whose community would you rather be a part of? The retail-based crowd that gives you guys inaccurate insights, or an institutional community, right, that gives you guys real insights in a timely manner ahead of the moves? So now that I've shown you guys all this information is played out ahead of the curve, let's just go over the overall environment. Again, just taking a look at these risk factors. This is our May 7th report, all right? So in order to see continued risk on sentiment, we'll wrap this up really fast, okay? We would ideally like to see, considering that the rest of this week is relatively quiet on the data headline front, meaning that today I believe we got some unemployment figures. Doesn't really seem like those figures had an extreme impact on market sentiment. So that means heading into this weekend, our primary focus is going to be on geopolitical risks, i.e. Russia-Ukraine debacle and any escalations in the Middle East, and then any tariff announcements from major jurisdictions. Primarily, right now, we are focused on the Japan forefront and China forefront. Any major announcements from those two jurisdictions, also keeping the EU headlines on the back end of our spectrum. All right. So to see a continued risk on market move in XRP and Bitcoin over the weekend, our primary focus is going to be that we want to see continued de-escalations or positive announcements on those fronts, right? De-escalations and tensions in the Middle East, peace agreements and peace talks coming from Russia, Ukraine, any announcements from Zelensky, from Putin confirming that there is some type of peace agreement on the forefront or on the table in the workings, and then major de-escalations in the tariff debacles, okay? That would continue to drive risk on sentiment throughout the weekend. Heading into next week, we do have PPI figures and CPI figures in terms of inflationary data to pay attention to on the US front that are going to be primary drivers for next week, but we'll get into that in next week's breakdown. So if we see a continued risk on market mood, let's just take a look at Bitcoin's price action first, do an overall price analysis, and then we'll get into XRP. Again, this is a risk on market mood. We continue to see risk on fundamentals. That means positive geopolitical sentiment, peace talk agreements, so on and so forth. And we continue to see de-escalations and the tariff debacles amongst major jurisdictions, right? On Bitcoin, there are three scenarios that I would primarily be looking for, considering that this is where institutional buyers came in yesterday, meaning that this is most likely the most recent daily high or low. There are three scenarios I'd be looking for. The best scenario for us to take trades as retail investors will be a discount all the way down into these previous buy volume areas to then see higher prices and buyers defending their positions. The second analysis that I would be looking for, let's go ahead and change these colors so you guys can see these areas a little bit better, would be a discounted drop, a medium-term discount into roughly around $97,984 per Bitcoin, or for buyers to come back in and defend the dark pool that came in around those areas to see higher prices. And then if none of those scenarios happen and we continue to see a risk on market mood from where we currently stand, we're most likely going to see a breakout of this current sell delta, retest, and start to trade higher into the $100,000 range, right? Nothing overly exhaustive or extensive, real insights and real technical analysis. This is what I'm projecting right now as of time of recording, giving you guys an update if we continue to see a risk on market sentiment. Now heading over to XRP, right? Real fast, XRP, since we have rejected the $2.09 area, I'd be looking for two setups right now on XRP to see higher prices. The first setup, considering that we are on the 2-hour time frame, okay, would be a price move back down into discounts at $2.09 to revisit for buyers to show their hand again and defend their prices to then push prices higher. This is again in a risk on market environment. The second analysis that I'd be looking for continued buy moves on XRP or higher prices to come into fruition will be for us to see a retracement or a retest of this $2.17 mark, buyers to come in and defend, maybe some consolidation before buyers show their hand again, and then a breakout move showing buyers are still in control, coming up into about $2.30 as our first area of interest before we reconsolidate and see the market sentiment again, whether we're going to break higher, reaccumulate prices, possibly break above these deltas, and maybe make our way into higher areas of interest at about $2.47. All right. So as long as we see buyers maintain momentum above $2.09, I'm expecting higher prices on XRP. Heading back over to the bearish scenario, let's flip the script a little bit. Since we're looking at these three setups on Bitcoin, in order for me to reverse this bias, number one, we would like to see a shift in fundamentals. So before we seek to sell or take profit on any of our buy positions from previous days, we would ideally like to see yesterday's buy volume areas overtaken by sellers. So that means in order for us to flip our bullish momentum or our bullish thesis right now, we would ideally like to see sellers engulf all of yesterday's previous buy volume. That means that we would like to see Bitcoin break the $96,000 mark, sellers showing their hand and defending their previous sell positions, pushing price action below $96,000 before we can confirm that sellers are back in control. If we can see this on Bitcoin and we can see sellers push price below $94,888, then that would open the door for a possible revisitation of the $91,000 mark on Bitcoin. Now, I personally do not expect this to come into fruition unless we see some major shift in fundamentals over the weekend, right? So again, I will give you guys another timely update on this technical analysis heading into next week. But over the weekend, I don't see something like this coming into fruition unless we see a major shift in headline risk, meaning we see escalated tensions in the Middle East, spark fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and create a more favorable environment for safe haven assets. And the same thing on the tariff front, right? We see major negative announcements from China and the US trade talks that are set to come into fruition this weekend. We see any negative announcements on the Japan trade talks in the US over the weekend. Those would be the only things that I could see over the weekend causing a scenario like this on Bitcoin to unfold. Outside of that, anything above $96,000 on Bitcoin opens the door for higher prices, right? Same thing on XRP to wrap this up. I know this video is extensive and it's long, but again, no retail insights here, just institutional insights. On XRP, since we're looking at that $2.09 threshold to hold in order for higher prices to come into fruition, same thing as that $96,000 threshold on Bitcoin. If we break $2.09 under a risk-off market environment on XRP, meaning that we see sellers start to show their hand, we see them engulf buyers at $2.17, break price action and push it down below $2.09, defending their position and overpowering buyers, this is most likely going to open the door on XRP for lower prices. On XRP, I'd be looking at a break underneath $2.09 to open the door for roughly about $1.90 before looking for intraday buy positions or to reaccumulate some DCA positions on XRP. And if the sentiment deteriorates worse than whatever sends XRP price down to $1.90, I'd be looking for sellers to show their hand again, overpower buyers, and push price down into $1.70 as our second bearish targets. So if the sentiment worsens or diminishes over the weekend from what we're currently seeing in the environment, we break below $2.09 on XRP, which again, I don't see happening unless we see a massive shift in the current fundamental environment. $1.90 is our first bearish target under $2.09, and our last most extreme bearish target in this current environment is $1.72. All right. So make sure that you guys stay engaged. Make sure that you stay tapped in. Follow us over on X for free analytical updates where I will give you guys updates on just XRP and Bitcoin throughout the week. However, if you guys want access to our institutional software, which costs us over $8,000 per month to run, and it only costs $50 to tap into our private Discord. If you guys want these insights on multiple different currency pairs in futures, commodities, forex, and in crypto, tap in with us in our private CYPRX Discord. Not only do you guys have these institutional Delta insights, but throughout the week, we deliver these handwritten reports that go over insights, what to be paying attention to throughout the entirety of the week, what data is coming out, the market sentiment, the shape and the overall trajectory of the total cryptocurrency market cap throughout the entirety of the week. And we host anywhere between 2 to 6 Zoom calls throughout the entirety of the week that you all also have access to. There's so much more information in our private Discord, but I'll leave that up to you all to unpack. As always, showing you guys some of the realest information and research in the game, keeping you all ahead of the curve. Do me a favor, smash that thumbs up button and subscribe to the platform. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video breakdown.